For the Unit 3, Lesson 2, Ready, Set, Go, this video is for the ready problems. I'm only going to go over the odd-numbered problems in the video, 1, 3, and 5. But if you're doing any of the even-numbered problems, we could do... I think this video would still help you. They're just not included. So the directions say graph each set of linear equations. So again, we are told that these are all linear. On the same set of axes, name the coordinates of the point where the two lines intersect. So just a reminder that if our equation is in the form of y equals mx plus b, b gives us the y value of the y-intercept, and the x value is 0 on the y-axis. And then m tells us the slope. And so remember, we could think of slope when we're graphing as rise over run, but that is essentially our change in y and over our change in x. And we know that if our slope is negative, our line is decreasing. If our slope is positive, our line is increasing. Okay, so for number 1, for f of x, I see that f has a b value of -7, so its y-intercept is on the y-axis at 0, -7. And I didn't count, I didn't put my x and y-axes perfectly in the center of the graph. It's wonderful if you did. I'm just trying to do this quickly because I have a lot of videos to make. So if I go down to -7, I only labeled every 5, but -7 on my y-axis. And then my slope is 2. So if I have the whole number 2, I could think of that as 2 over 1. So I'm going to rise 2, run 1. So I'm basically going up 2 over 1. And I could also go down to backwards 1. But you only need a couple good points. Really, you only need 2 points to make a line. Sometimes I like to get a few more. And then you could take a ruler or straight edge. If you don't have a ruler and you're doing this at home, you could always use your student ID or like a learner's permit or a driver's license as your straight edge. I do that a lot with my school ID. All right, so this is the function f of x that we just graphed with a y-intercept of -7, a slope of 2. So for g of x, I notice my y-intercept is positive 5. So 0, 5. I'm going to mark that on my y-axis right here. And then for g, my slope is -4. So remember, when I have an integer, I can always put a 1 under my integer to write that as a fraction. And the reason that's helpful is if I'm thinking about rise over run, I could think that for every 1x I run forward, I am rising -4. So I'm going down 4 as I move to the right. All right, so from my y-intercept, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And again, I could keep doing that, or once I just have a couple good points, I like to sometimes get 3 just to help me line up my ruler. Then I could take a ruler or straight edge and draw a line. And that's something we can do when we have a linear function. All right, oops, we said that last one was called g of x. All right, so the directions also asked us to name the coordinates. So when we name coordinates of a point, we always do x then y. So the coordinates of the point where the two lines intersect, well, these two lines intersect at the x-coordinate of 2 and the y-coordinate of -3. So that ordered pair would be 2, -3. That is our point of intersection. All right, number 2, very, very similar. Or sorry, not number 2, number 3. So for f of x, I have a y-intercept of -2. So again, I could think of that as an ordered pair, 0, -2. But that is at -2 on my y-axis. And you might be confused if you look at this and you're like, what's my slope? Well, remember, if I write -x, that's the same as -1x. So my slope is -1. And again, I could think of that as -1 over +1 for rise over run. So I know my slope is negative, which means my line is decreasing. So I'm going to go down 1 to the right 1, or I could go up 1, backwards 1 to the left. And you don't have to put all these points. You only need a few good points to be able to draw your line here. Let's see if I can line these up well. There we go. And again, if you don't have a ruler at home, you could use a straight edge. Sometimes I fold a piece of paper and use that crease of the fold to help me make a line. All right, so that is our function f of x. I'm going to just label this f of x. And now for g of x, we have a y-intercept of 0, 10 and a slope of 2, which again we could think of as 2 over 1. So the whole number 2 is the same as 2 over 1. So starting up, on my y-axis at 10, well, I'm out of room to move to the right. I can't really put any points to the right of that just based on where I put my x and my y-axis, but I can go down to back 1. That's like rising down and running in the negative direction. And a negative divided by a negative is still a +2. So if I go down to back 1, down to back 1, and again, after a couple good points, you can just pull out the ruler. But I do want to make sure that we can clearly see that y-intercept. So let's see if I can line this up. It's much easier to do this not on a computer. My digital ruler is kind of hard to rotate. All right, so this is our graph of g of x. So we've graphed both lines on the same coordinate axes. We said this is x, this is our y-axis, and our point of intersection is at the x value, -4, and at the y value, 2. So again, when I write my ordered pair, I always write x first, then y. So our point of intersection is -4, 2. All right, I said I was also going to do number 5 in the video. And so this one, I see that my slopes are written as fractions, and nothing against decimals, but when you are graphing, it's easier to work with a fraction than a decimal as far as slope goes. All right, so these are still in the form of y equals mx plus b. So my y-intercept for f, my b value is 4. So my y-intercept is at the ordered pair 0, 4, and my slope is 2/3. So again, the reason the fraction is helpful is I could think of that as rise over run. Since my slope is positive, I know my line is increasing, so I'm going to rise up 2 and run 1, 2, 3 and put a point. So up 2, 1, 2, 3. I could also go down 2 and backwards 1, 2, 3. So you could keep doing that, or you could just get a few good points, get your ruler or straight edge. Sorry for the whiny dog in the background. I'm dog sitting right now. All right, we get f of x is this line right here. And then for g of x, I see my y-intercept is at 1, so 0, 1. As an ordered pair, that's going to be on our y-axis right there. And my slope is -1/3. So from my y-intercept, if I rise down 1, I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, put a point, down 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3. I could also go up 1 and to the left, 1, 2, 3. And so once we get a few nice points, take out the straight edge. I am trying to make sure that I can clearly see that point of intersection, and so far I've been able to. So, all right, that is our graph of g of x. And the point of intersection is the point where the two lines, well, intersect. And so I could see that's at -1, 2, 3 on my x-axis and up at +2 on my y. So when I write those coordinates as an ordered pair, -3, 2, we always do x and then y. All right, so that's it for the ready questions. If you're doing the odd numbered problems, or sorry, the even numbered problems, I think this video will still help you. You do the same thing basically.